Hey guys, Adam Francisco here. Welcome back to my channel. As you guys know, I have not been out doing interviews for a few days, so this gave me an opportunity to catch up and do one of the posts that I've been wanting to do for a while. So if you guys follow me on YouTube and you check out my community page, a few weeks ago I put up a post. I asked my audience, have you been unfriended, unfollowed, or insulted for your support of President Trump? Share stories below. I might make a video about the best stories. So I wanted to share a few of these that really jumped out at me, and I thought that you guys would like to hear it as well. Now, before I get into it, I did want to talk about my experience as becoming a Trump supporter. I would say it was March when my support of Trump started to become public, and that's because I went to one of the rallies in Charlotte. Now, the reality was I was also going to go to a Biden rally or whoever the Democratic candidate was, but unfortunately, because of COVID, they never had any rallies. So I only ended up going to the Trump rally. And the one thing that I really took away from it is I was just so surprised at how much love and patriotism and happiness there was at a Trump rally. And that really sold me, where I felt so comfortable around these Trump supporters, and I felt so happy, and I felt pride for our country. So that really gave me a lot of comfort in coming out as a Trump supporter. After that, of course, I received all the basic things that you'd expect. I was labeled a racist. I was called a white supremacist because I like Donald Trump, which is just, it's very strange to be called those things when you are a person who is pretty kind to most people, as you guys know. And I am Mexican by ethnicity. So it's very strange to hear some of those comments. Definitely got unfriended by a lot of people. I saw my Facebook friend count drop by about 100. And these are people that I've met in real life throughout, since Facebook's existence back in 2004. So I definitely lost a lot of friends that I was connected to. I also lost a lot of ex-clients. I'm from New York City, which is the liberal hive mind of America. They don't like hearing, I guess, alternative points of view. So for them, it's easier to unfriend, unfollow than to engage in polite discourse. Although I gotta say, what I do find interesting is after these people have unfriended me, they still continue to comment on my posts. So I just find that very strange. If you unfriend somebody, you've kind of basically said, I am no longer interested in seeing your content. So to unfriend somebody and then continue to engage, I just find is very bizarre in my opinion. But luckily for me, my family, most of us are Trump supporters. I come from a family of police officers as well as veterans who've served our country. And as you guys know, both the police and the military back Trump. So I come from Trump supporters. I haven't any issues within the family. As a matter of fact, my family is very proud of me for being a Trump supporter, as well as using my platforms to talk about that, because we truly believed that, and we still do believe, of course, that Trump is the best president for the country, especially during these times. So that's it. As far as my dating life and being a Trump supporter, I did put up a Trump photo on Bumble, which you guys can check out right. I'll put it on this side, right over here. And I did notice that my match rate went down dramatically. And the women that I was matching with, they were all conservatives, or some of them were moderates in their Bumble profile, because you can list if you're liberal, moderate, or conservative. So it definitely changed the type of woman I was matching with. So I took it out of the profile just because, you want to cast the widest net. When you're a single person, it's always important to cast the widest net, which is why I'm on dating apps, because you want to meet people everywhere. In real life, dating apps, social media, wherever it is, you should keep an open mind to meet someone anywhere it is. So I took it out of my profile, and yeah, now it's back to being just neutral. And I assume that because I'm a person of color, people probably assume that I'm a Biden supporter, and that's okay. They can make that assumption. But I'm very open about my support of Donald Trump, and in my Bumble, I link to my YouTube channel. So literally, it's one quick search away for these women to see that I am indeed a Trump supporter. So anyway, let's get some of the comments that you guys submitted, because I saw a lot of good ones. So I'm going to put them here, but they're going to be a little small to read, so I'm going to read them too for you guys right now. So this comment comes from, and again, if I cannot pronounce these names, I apologize, okay? This comment comes from Suvik Das, and he says, my crush called me a racist and blocked me. We are childhood friends. She had a crush on me too, but support of BLM blinded her. So this guy basically lost his crush. They had a crush on each other, and his support of Trump, I guess, ruined that potential relationship. So that sucks for you. I'm sorry, friend. But honestly, it's better to be true to who you are and be honest, and then accept the consequences of that. Because you know what? As people say, it's better to live on your feet. It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees, right? This next comment comes from Evelink1. A friend decided to start bad-mouthing the USA during 4th of July. I wouldn't let it stand and pushed back against it. The conversation turned towards BLM and the riots and how he thought they were justified. He hasn't spoken to me since, and I'm okay with that. It's not about Trump. It's about America itself. There's a huge subset of liberals who simply hate this country and want to replace its institutions. I tend to agree with that comment. I think that, and again, we're just dumbing this down and just summarizing, and we're generalizing here. We're painting with broad strokes. But in general, my dogs are fighting in the background. Hey, ladies. It seems to me that Republicans love this country, and Democrats want to change this country. That's the feeling that I get from both sides. I'm sure that there are outliers on both sides, but I feel like that's the general disposition of Republicans versus Democrats. This next comment comes from Orange22 Fishing. On the day before the election, I stood on the corner of a downtown intersection in my state capital holding an American flag and wearing a MAGA hat. All Trump supporters in their cars were very friendly, of course, but I was called a racist, a fool, and flipped off by Biden supporting drivers. One Biden supporter stopped her car at the opposite red light, flipped me off, and when the light turned green, she proceeded to accelerate extremely fast and head straight at me on the sidewalk, only swerving away at the last minute with inches to spare. In addition, I've lost many friends on my college campus for my support of Trump on social media. So I've gone to a number of Trump rallies, as you guys know. Not only Trump rallies, but I've also gone to a lot of flag-waving events with Paint the Trump. And yeah, we definitely get flipped off a lot and cursed a lot by never-Trumpers or anti-Trumpers. And that's why I don't get why the left is the tolerant party. They're really not, because I know for a fact when I meet a Biden supporter, my reaction isn't to flip them off or curse them out. My reaction is to understand why they're voting for Biden or why they don't like Trump, and just to learn from them and hear from them. But it seems a lot of Biden supporters, they just want to give you the middle finger, and that's how they express themselves. So I feel that. I think her driving the car at you was wrong. Shouldn't have done that, because if she didn't get her swerve correct, she could have hit you, and that's just ridiculous. Okay, this next comment's from TJ Nolan. We have a family member that walked away and they experienced the same thing. After a week of bashing her and shaming her on social media, they finally got done crying and moved on. She has never been happier. Her words, love her and so happy she escaped that blue delusion. Yeah, I mean, I got to say that, me personally, I don't think my overall mood has changed. Going from a Democrat voter to a Trump supporter, I've always been pretty optimistic and a happy person, but I do think that for a lot of people who feel that they have to hide their Trump support, it is very freeing to come out and be able to be open about it. I think that there's definitely a level of freedom to that and just being true to yourself. So I totally understand if someone comes out as a Trump supporter, that they just feel happier. I totally understand that. So I'm happy for your friend, and congratulations to her for jumping on the Trump train. Here we go, another one. This is from Angela Rivera. My big sister, who I have looked up to and supported our entire lives, turned on me viciously, in caps. I won't even bother going into the terrible things she called me online. This is the same person I chose to be in the room with when I welcomed my children into this world. The only family member, not counting my husband. I'm sure I could lose other friendships if they knew, but luckily I do have a lot of friends, the ones closest to me, that like Trump. But losing my sister and subsequently my nieces has been heartbreaking. That's terrible. To lose family members over support of Trump, I think it is short-sighted. And in my opinion, that's unacceptable. I don't really know if there's a solution for that, because that person seems so close-minded that they will reject their sibling over Trump support. But I do hope that that person comes around and realizes that you only have one or a few siblings in this life, and it's important to keep those bonds intact. Unless, of course, a sibling has done something so extremely horrible. But I don't think supporting Trump falls under that category. I hope things work out for you, Angela. This is from John Majewski. One of my friends for over 10 years defriended me last year due to my support of Trump. We were always cordial about our political differences. The final straw was when Trump made the comment about how the squad needed to go back to where they came from. I don't remember the exact context, but I woke up to a bunch of text messages saying I needed to disavow my support of Trump or we would not be friends anymore. Needless to say, he unfriended me that day. Yeah, John, I've I've heard of stories like that where the person says either you disavow your support of Trump or I'm not going to be friends with you anymore. And to me, ultimatums, they don't usually work, and I don't think I don't think it's a healthy way to solve a problem or make someone, think about changing their position. So anybody that gives you an ultimatum like that, I don't think that their heart's in the right place. And so I think they did you the favor too by them forcing themselves to walk away from you. So screw that friend, I guess. Their loss, right? This is from Nick V. I got berated by a longtime friend in public and told I was a racist when I stated that I'd be voting for President Trump. I had another friend tell me I wasn't allowed to discuss any issues in regards to race because of my support for the president and that I am white. My best friend had his fiance break up with him and move out. I have lifelong friends who have accused me of being part of racism due to my support. It's honestly been insane. Yeah, this is now obviously I'm not white despite being adopted. However, I do understand that book, White Privilege by White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, basically in summary said that if you are white, your racism is inherent and that you have white privilege and it cannot be avoided. And I think this is one of the problems I have with liberal ideology is that they like to generalize, but at the same time don't like when you generalize, right? So to me, just because someone's white doesn't mean that they should be held to different standards or rules, because to me, that's racism. When you say, based on your skin color, you should think or say this, that's racism to me, because you're just literally looking at skin color and that's determining the type of behavior or outcome you expect. That's just absurd. At the end of the day, we're all humans. We all bleed the same. And so to me, people should be allowed to think what they want to think, and it should not be demonized just because they're white. So I hope that wasn't too wordy, but I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say. This is from Audrey Mai. I had 4 decade-long friends unfriend me on Facebook right after I made a post about my support of President Trump. She kept it short and sweet, but yeah, that happened to me, as I mentioned earlier. I had about 100 friends on Facebook, and I wouldn't really call them friends. I guess they're just acquaintances or people that you're connected to that unfriended me. But again, the weird part is they continue to comment on my stuff. I find that to be very strange, but whatever. This is from ciderwnw. Some girls block me on Tinder and Instagram. Not a big deal. This person took it very lightly. They added a hee for good measure. But I'm with them. I mean, I've definitely saw my matches go down when I had on a Trump shirt on my profile. If this is all that you received, you got off easy, I guess. This is from Alexzan. I got unfriended by a lot of old high school friends in Facebook for not only commenting on false reports about Trump, like him not denying white supremacy, and me linking a video where he denies it 38 times. Yeah, this video was put together by Students for Trump, and it shows 38 times where Trump has condemned white supremacy, neo-Nazis, and all that, bad stuff. And so you can't say Trump's never condemned white supremacy when we have 38 examples of it since the 90s. Trump has always condemned white supremacy. He's always condemned neo-Nazis. He's always condemned white nationalism. So the narrative that he hasn't is literally fake news. Here's from Gamer07. Biden supporters tend to unfriend me. The ones that don't unfriend me post so much negative hate and content, I end up limiting posts I'd see from them. I had to unfriend after a couple instances of them cussing out a random stranger. Yeah, so I gotta say, and I gotta admit, I've blocked one person on my Facebook in the past, this whole year. I blocked one person. And really, it was just because the volume of messages that they put on my wall, it was almost to the point of harassment. And then that person found my business Facebook page and commented there. And then I blocked them there because, again, I just was feeling a little creeped out by it. Again, I'm okay with public discourse. I'm okay with disagreeing. I'm okay with dropping links. I'm okay with being fact-checked. As a matter of fact, this guy was probably one of the biggest fact-checkers on my social media channels. And I was okay with that for months. Totally okay. Probably hundreds of posts he's done. But the volume just kept ramping up, and ramping up to the point that it was uncomfortable. There'd be 3 or 4 comments on every Facebook post which had nothing to do with Trump, but he would always make it about Trump. So I just said, you know what? This seems to me to be very unhealthy and maybe even a bit obsessive. So for my own safety, I guess, I just had to put the block on it. So You know, I hear that. I think at some point people do cross the line of what's socially acceptable. And yeah, at some point you have to block. And I don't block because I don't want to hear the other opposing point of view. I watch CNN all the time. I watch the Young Turks all the time. So just as 2 examples, I absorb a lot of liberal media because I do want to see what that side says. And keep in mind, I used to identify as a liberal Democrat. So CNN and the Young Turks, that's like where I always got my content from. So I still like to stay connected to those channels because I want to make sure that I'm not just watching Fox News, Newsmax, or OAN, or, you know, going on Parler. I want everything. And what I've noticed personally is when I want a lot of support for Trump and support for my own opinions, I'll post stuff on my YouTube channel, which has a mostly Trump audience, or I'll post stuff on Parler. And 99% of my comments are going to support my line of thinking. But then I also like to post stuff on Facebook because it's the exact opposite. Most of my social network on Facebook is liberals and Democrats. So then I get bombarded with fact checks, and you know, a lot of people say that it's very sad that I become very sad in my beliefs, whatever. So I like that because it kind of balances it out. It gives me a disparity of feedback. The one platform I would say is surprisingly the most balanced has actually been Instagram. I put up a lot of Instagram stories about pro-Trump, and also I do some posts about pro-Trump, and that seems to be the most balanced, where I'm getting both liberals and I'm getting both pro-Trump. But what I find interesting is the liberals who disagree with me, they're often, not only are they disagreeing with me, but then they're insulting me, they're cursing at me, they're actually the ones that are being racist. I'll read you a comment that happened today on Instagram. So he wrote on my wall, poor dogs stuck with a whitewashed Latino. Now, I guess that could be considered a bit offensive, but I'll give him a little bit of credit. You know, if you want to call me whitewashed, I was adopted by, you know, a Jewish mom and a Christian father. Both my parents are white. So in that regard, I can accept being called a whitewashed Latino. So I'll give him that. You know, perhaps I am a whitewashed Latino because my parents are white. I was raised in a white household. So I commented and I said to him, your comment makes sense because I was adopted by a white family. But my dogs aren't poor. That's what I said. So this guy writes back, bruh, no wonder you're whitewashed. You would rather listen to your white mama and daddy, who literally just probably adopted you just to make themselves look good. They didn't adopt you out of love, bud. I can easily tell they would probably sell your ass out to Nazis if they were to take over the government just to save their pale skins. Mind-boggling commentary. So this is an example of someone who doesn't like me because of my support for Donald Trump. And so then they're telling me that my white parents adopted me not out of love, but out of making themselves look good. And this is the liberal ideology, because there was a tweet that went viral a couple of months ago where this liberal thinker was talking about Amy Coney Barrett and her adopted children, and had a similar line of thinking. I'll try to find the tweet and put that right here for you guys. But basically, he was saying the same thing, that women like Amy Coney Barrett, white women like Amy Coney Barrett, adopt children from black countries or Latin American countries to feel better about themselves, or to show their white privilege, or something like that. I'm speaking freely now. We'll put the quote here. So this kid obviously probably read that, and that's his view of adoption by white people, which I just think is so sick. And then he says that my parents would sell me out to the Nazis if they were to take over the government. I mean, there's just so much to unpack here that's wrong with what this kid is trying to say, but this is an example of just where liberal ideology is actually can be racist sometimes. And that's where, to me, it becomes hypocritical, right? Because they want to say that Trump's a racist and you're a racist for supporting Trump. But the way that I'm going to argue that is I'm going to say racist things to you to make you feel bad about yourself. I mean, just the logic is just unbelievable. So anyway, I put this on my Instagram and I wrote, people of color can't be racist. Obviously, anybody can be racist. You know, some people say that racism is based on power. So if you don't have power, then you can't be racist. That's a complete myth, in my opinion. That's one form of racism. Yeah, that's true. But, you know, black people could be racist against white people. Asian people could be racist against Latino people. Anybody could be racist against anybody. I mean, there's racism in all sorts of levels. So it definitely exists. So there's an example right there. And, you know, I just wanted to, I owed you guys this video. Thank you again, everybody who submitted a comment. I really enjoyed reading them, and obviously I'm happy to know that I'm not alone in the world of being a Trumper and then having people, you know, unfriend you or leave you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know this was a little different than the other episodes. I am going to be going back out tomorrow to interview people, probably about some of the COVID restrictions that a lot of governors across the country want to do for Thanksgiving and Christmas. You know, I don't really necessarily align with some of their thinking, but I want to hear people think, you know, on the street. I want to go out tomorrow and do that. So we'll be able to get an interview tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you again for watching. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the DMs in the wall. This is not Instagram, no DMs here. But again, thanks for subscribing. Really appreciate it. And if you'd like to support my work, you guys can sign up for my Patreon. Membership start at only $5 a month. And, you know, really, if I can get hundreds of you guys to sign up and support me through Patreon, well, all of a sudden, those $5 donations add up, and it can actually fuel and support my travels across America as I keep fighting to get Donald Trump back in office and doing everything I can, at least, to bring words on the street from the people, from the citizens, to you guys. Anyway, thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, be free, my sheeple.